Everybody, and welcome back. In the previous videos, we had implemented some functionality that will be required inside of our register page button to actually register the user correctly. So now that we have all of the parts individually completed, it's time to combine them. So let's get into the process of actually combining them. The combination process is going to be fairly simple. There are some very straightforward steps that we have to take to accomplish the process of registering our user. The first one is that once we make sure that the input that is provided to us is valid, we need to actually save the input. So to do that, I'm going to remove this comment here inside of our if statement, and I'm going to say that we're going to take the register form key, we're going to take the current state, and we're going to save it. With that done, we are now going to do the first step, which is to register our user with the Firebase Authentication module. So to do that, I'm going to create a variable which is going to have an optional string. It's going to save the UID that gets returned to us once the user is created, and I'm going to call our authentication providers function, which is register user using email and password. And then for the email, I'll just pass in the email that we would get, and then for the password, I just give the password, and I'm going to add exclamation marks at the end of both of them because we know that we validated the input, so they're not going to be null. So now that our user is registered inside of Firebase, the next step is that we need to upload their image to the Firebase Storage cloud, and then we can retrieve the URL afterwards. So I'm going to create another variable optional string, and I'll call this image URL, and I'll set that equal to a call to our _cloud storage service. And then from there, I'm going to say that save user image to storage. And that requires two things. It requires the file as well as the UID. Well, the UID we already have, so I'm going to add an exclamation mark at the end of the UID. And then for the file, we are going to get that from the profile image, and then add an exclamation mark to that and add a semicolon at the end and do command save. Finally, the last thing that we're going to do is that we're going to have another await call. And this await call is going to go to our database service. It's going to call the create user function, and we're pass in the UID. We are going to pass in our email. We're going to pass in our name. We are going to then also pass in our image URL, which we're already doing. I'll just add an exclamation mark to that, add a semicolon at the end. And that's pretty much all we have to do. And with this, I am going to do command save. Now I'm going to restart my device, and I'm going to go to don't have an account, and here I'm going to try to create a user. So now if I go and I add just random values, for example, I don't type a name that's more than 8 characters long, I type in something that's not an email, and I type in a password that's wrong, that's not 8 characters. If I click on register, it's going to ask us to enter valid values. So firstly, I'm going to click here, and on the image I mean, and I'm going to select the appropriate image for the user that I want to register. So let's just use Leonardo DiCaprio's picture. Then for the name, I'll just going to call it Leonardo DiCaprio. Similar to this, I am going to then give the email as leo@preneur.com. And then for the actual password, I'll do the same test123 exclamation mark for all of the accounts. And with this, what I'm going to do is that before I click the registration page, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to our authentication module. I'm going to show that there's no user currently registered as Leonardo. I'm also going to go to the Firestore database, and I'm going to show you that in our users collection, we do not have currently another user except for Hussein. And then I'm going to go to the storage bucket, and I'll show you that inside of images, we don't have any other images except for the one that we had manually created. So now if I go back and I click on register, in some time, the registration process should complete, and we should be taken to the actual home page once it completes. So now we just have to wait for the process to complete. And if we go back to our Firestore authentication module and reload it, you're going to see that leo@preneur.com has been created. If we go to our storage, images, users, you're going to see that we have an ID for Leo now as well, where we're saving his profile image. And then if I go to my Firestore database, you can see that inside of here, we are saving Leo's information as well. And that's pretty much all we have to do. Okay, so now that the registration process is complete and we have all of the information inside of our Firestore database, there's still one part that's missing. And that's that once our registration process is done, I'd just like to go back to our login page so that our user can log in. So to do that, it's going to be fairly simple. What we're going to do is that we're going to go to our register page and we are going to be creating a variable which is going to store a reference to our navigation service. So for that, firstly, I got to import my service. So I'm going to go to the top and I'm going to import /services/navigation service, and then I'll come down to the variable that I was creating. I'm going to say that it's going to be of type navigation service, and I'm going to call this navigation. And with this, I'm going to take this navigation variable, I'm going to go to the bottom, and I'm going to say once the user has been created, I am going to do navigation dot and then go back, and that's all I have to do, and do command save. But we are getting an error, and let's see what that error is. And it's saying that I've not added the semicolon at the end, so let's do that. And I also found another error, and that is that even though we get our navigation service, we never set it to be the reference to the singleton instance that we have inside of our application. So after my cloud storage service, I'll just set the navigation equal to get it dot instance dot get, and then from there I'll just put in the navigation service as the type, and then add the semicolons at the end, add the comma, and add the parentheses at the end and the semicolon, and do command save. And now what I'm going to do is that I am going to rename my cloud storage service by right clicking on it and then saying rename symbol and just call it storage, or instead of cloud storage, just call it cloud storage, and then do just wait for it to complete and do command save. So now with this, I'm going to restart my application and I'm going to register another user. So I am going to, because we had already registered and logged in, it logged us in automatically. So what I'm going to do is that I am going to go to our authentication provider, and I am going to then go to the point where we are listening to our auth state changes. And then before that, I'll just call _auth.logout or sign out, sorry. And then do command save, restart my application again. This time when it goes through, it'll sign us out, but still sign us in because it's an asynchronous operation. And then now if I restart, we should be at the login page. So at the login page, we have this. I'm going to click on don't have an account. This time I'm going to select Brad Pitt. I'm going to say Brad Pitt as the name. Then I'll just say email as brad@preneur.com and the same gist. So the password is going to be test123 and then the exclamation mark. Click on register. And as soon as we're done, we're taken back to our login page. And then once this is done, I can just type in brad@preneur.com and then type in test123 hash login, and that should log us in. But it's not. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to end this video here. I'm going to debug this error, and then I'll get back to you guys once I have a definitive answer to that. But with that, we've officially completed the registration process. All we now need to do is figure out why, once we're authenticated, are we not moving to our login page. So with that, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.